Cowboys with Mooch.
Yes, my compadre from NFL Game Day Morning every single Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on NFL Network, and TNF Game Day getting you ready for Thursday Night Football every single Thursday on NFL Network at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Steve Mariucci here on Mooch Cam. Good to see you, Mooch, even though you are wearing a Spartan zip-up, golf slicker. It's okay.
Well, we're getting ready. We're getting ready for the big one.
Yeah.
Yep. What coming up? Are you getting nervous, Rich?
Nervous? Are you serious? Nervous? This is house money, Steve. You know, we're supposedly the little brother now. Not anymore. I mean, you're the one who's been ranked in the top 10. You're the one with the national title hopes asked. But we're just happy to be here, Steve. How does that sound?
Okay. Well, we're just going to play ball on Saturday and we'll see what happens. Okay.
Let me ask you, Steve. Is Izzo nervous? I'm not even asking about you. Is Izzo nervous? Is he nervous about this one? This one. Izzo.
No, he's not nervous. Does he look nervous right there?
That's just
He's got Sparty on his side right there.
That's an old picture that you have.
He's ready. And D'Antonio.
Okay.
Look at this, Rich.
You've got a picture of you. Explain for the radio audience what you're holding up, Steve.
Yeah, you know who that is. That's Bo Schembechler, right?
Yeah, you and Bo.
This is when I was when I was with the Lions, and this is Al Fracassa.
Mm-hmm.
He's a head football. He was at Birmingham Brother Rice. He won a bunch of state championships,
right.
And we dedicated this field to him, and it was great fun hanging out with Bo. He came to my bocce tournament too. But anyway,
did he play?
Just a couple of weeks after that.
Did Bo play?
Yeah. He and George Perlis. They're playing a little bit. They're not very good.
Yeah, George, the old Michigan State head coach back when I was in school there. But you didn't answer the question. Is Tom Izzo nervous about this football game in the big house against Harbaugh Saturday, Steve? Yes or no?
He's very respectful to your football team. And so is Mark D'Antonio, okay?
I know that, sure.
So is this guy right here. You know what? This guy's 65 years old. My dad got this when he was at Michigan State, the Duffy Doherty era.
So is that why you're a Sparty?
This is before bobbleheads.
Yeah, the head's not bobbling. That's old school right
there.
No
bobble, like Peyton Manning.
Yeah, careful, we could break it. All right, let's talk professional football right here. The Seattle Seahawks offense, 6 punts in a row to end the game. None of the drives that they punted on in the 6 consecutive, 4 in regulation, 2 in overtime, were more than 6 plays. Why is the offense struggling, Steve?
Well, they're not as good as they used to be. And it starts up front. I mean, we always say it starts up front, and that's a true statement, Rich. When you're talking about, Tom Cable's a heck of a line coach, and he gets the most out of those guys, but there's some parts that are gone from those good teams. And you're talking about Justin Britt. He's a second-year player over there, second-year starter at left guard. This Drew Nowak kid, he was undrafted 3 years ago, and finally he gets the start. And he's a guy that's, just, I don't want to say happy to be there, but he wasn't expected to be a great player. Gary Gilliam was undrafted last year, and he's starting at right tackle. This is a very young offensive line, except for Russell Okung over there. So it starts with that. Of course, you don't have Marshawn Lynch, and it's just not what they expected right now. They didn't finish that game like they should have. They're winning the game 24-7 in the fourth quarter, Rich. 24-7, and they can't hang on. It's not the same team on offense.
Now, I know Marshawn wasn't there, Beast Mode wasn't there, but Rawls went all crease mode. I mean, he had 166 yards rushing. Is it any of this on the quarterback, in your estimation, Steve?
The quarterback, I feel bad for Russell Wilson sometimes because he goes back to pass, and he's under duress almost every pass play. Thank God he's got some wheels, and he's Fran Tarkington, and he can get out of trouble and make some plays downfield. He's had to bail him out many times. But that stuff gets old. You can't, pretty soon they're going to contain him a little bit. And they've got to protect him better. They've got to play better defense. I mean, the whole thing, he got hit and he got sacked and he had nowhere to go with the ball several times. But, hey, they got beat by a good team, Rich.
Yep.
Cincinnati's a very good team. So don't look down your nose on the Bengals because
I'm not, Steve.
That's a heck of a team. That's a heck of a team.
Good enough to beat the Patriots in a playoff game? Good? Is that how good they are?
Possibly, because they're good in all their phases. All 3 phases are very good. They're well coached. They've been to the playoffs 4 years in a row, and I think Andy Dalton is starting to mature and get it. He'll play better in the big games, which he did.
Steve Mariucci joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. First 3-game losing streak for Jason Garrett. I know that Romo's not going to be around for at least what many people believe another month and a half. Do you use the bye week to turn to Matt Castle if you're Jason Garrett?
I would, yeah. Yeah, I would. And I like Brandon Weeden. He's a good kid. He's a kind of a middle of the road quarterback. He's never going to be a great one, I don't think. And I know him. I know him personally. And he's not a bad one. But is he? You get what you see every week, and it's kind of a meh. And then Matt Castle, they need a spark. They have some missing parts. So this is the time to do it with a bye week. Castle has taken over. Remember, he took over for your guy, Tom Brady.
Yep.
Won 11 games that year. Now, that was a few years ago. He hasn't been that good since. But maybe he gives them a spark. Who knows? There's some teams playing musical chairs at quarterbacks, and I think the Cowboys will be one of them. Castle might get the go and have a couple weeks to prepare for that next one.
Yeah, it's a big one at MetLife against the Giants, who may or may not be in first place when that happens, depending on what happens, believe it or not, with the Jets against Washington and then the Eagles and Giants next week. Let's talk about Jamal Charles and what Andy Reid is trying to tell his team right now. You've been through many times, although Steve Young didn't suffer what was a season ender, did he? Or Jerry Rice certainly did. What is Andy telling his team right now at 1-4 with Jamal Charles out for the season?
I had both of those guys get hurt in the first game, both of them. They're 1-4, and I think Andy's going to keep this team focused. But that was one of the things that just bothered me so much in coaching, Rich. The injuries, whether it was a contact injury, this is a non-contact injury. There's nothing you can do about this, and it's so unfortunate. You feel so bad for the kid, and he's done for the year, and hopefully he comes back at some point next year. Andy's got to keep that team as focused as possible. It's a good team, and with a losing record, and it's like Seattle. Somebody's got to step up and play ball. We've had other running backs in this league step up, but it's not a fun thing to do. It's my heart goes out to Jamal Charles for that bad injury.
And that's part of this thing. What do the Lions do with Stafford now? I mean, they pulled him yesterday. They're 0-5, Steve. What do they do?
You got to play him. I mean, Matt, you play him. You play him, and you keep coaching him hard. And he's got this gunslinger mentality which can get himself in trouble sometimes. Sometimes we forget. We're talking about benching him too, and he's not any good. Sometimes we forget. The kid threw for 5,000 yards and 4,900 yards a few years back. He can really sling it. And then also we forget. They were 11-5 last year, Rich.
Yeah, I know.
11-5 at Detroit. It's not like that happens every year, right? So, now they're 0-5. So, you got to try to figure. All right, you benched them. Orlovsky comes in, play ball, Dan, a little bit. Now Matthew, let's go again. Let's reboot and see if we can get this thing going. They're a pretty decent team. They can win some games, but you don't discard Matthew Stafford. He's a good player, and he just needs to make better decisions with the ball.
I got a couple more minutes left with you with Steve Sarkeesian taking a leave of absence, indefinite, Steve. What pull the layers back on the pressures of coaching in big-time college football, certainly out in USC, from your Cal years.
Yeah, of course there's pressure on coaches in big-time football. There's pressure on coaches at every level. There's pressure with other professions. There's doctors that are under pressure every single day of their life, and so it sounds like he's got a problem. He's got an alcohol problem, and I hope to God he gets fixed and he gets better. Pat Hayden's got some tough decisions to make as to what they do going forward. Steve's a good guy and has an issue, and so. It's unfortunate for the USC Trojan family, but the most important thing to me right now is he's got to get well.
Do you know Clay Helton, the interim at USC?
No, I knew his dad. Mm-hmm. Kim Helton was a coach, and so I don't know Clay. Mm-hmm. So he's got a lot on his plate now.
Notre Dame,
to be the offensive coordinator. Yeah, Notre Dame's pretty good. This just in. And so, usually interim coaches, sometimes the best choice is to give that interim job to a veteran position coach, who doesn't have play calling responsibilities and offense or defense, because that's a lot to get prepared for, plus the head coach stuff. But, I don't know if Clay will be the guy all season or Steve will get back at all. We'll see what happens, but it's going to be interesting. It's unfortunate that they're having to go through that.
Steve Mariucci joining me here. Let's do the usual ending here of Mondays with Mooch. What makes Mooch most mad? WMMMM for those who might be hashtagging it on social media for Steve Mariucci. What makes you most mad today, Steve?
Today, I'm trying to think of what makes me mad, Rich.
What else?
Huh?
What do you're not in a mad mood? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
What about what's going on? What about what's going on in baseball, Steve? You got a take on that with Chase Utley?
Okay, so if we're going to change gears to baseball,
yeah.
Okay, let's change gears. And I know you've been talking about this all morning. You want to talk about it again, Rich?
Sure, Steve. What do you got?
We have rules in sports.
Okay.
Not just to protect the integrity of the game, but to protect the players and player safety. Mm-hmm. And really, that's got to be the most important thing. That's our greatest asset, the players, okay?
Yep.
So let's keep them protected so they can play, do their thing for a long time. And this Chase Utley thing, it's not just him. This is how baseball has been played for a long time. You take out the double play. And they're coached to do that, and that's what you do. And I don't think this was exactly by the rules, but you know what? I heard you talking earlier about this thing, Rich.
Yep, yeah.
About defenseless receiver. I don't see it that way at all.
Okay.
I don't see it that way at all. You know what I see it like?
What?
He's got the ball in his hand, Rich. He's a quarterback. He's going to throw the ball to first base. He's a quarterback in the pocket, and we're going low on him. In the National Football League, we protect the quarterback's legs, do we not?
Yes, we do.
And so when you go out of your way, avoid the bag, and go for the legs to take that quarterback, so to speak, out, there's something wrong with that rule. And so we've got to figure out another way of doing this thing. He didn't intend to break a fibula, okay? Mm-hmm. He just intended to break up the double play.
Yeah.
And because that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, we're showing football, right now Derek Carr. Von Miller went low on Derek Carr yesterday. That's a flag.
Yeah.
That's a flag. You can't go.
Yeah, it's a flag. I mean, Tom Brady lost a whole season like this a few years ago.
Chemo Van Olhoffen, for crying out loud. That's a four-letter word in
Absolutely.
Cincinnati.
So we stay off the passer's legs, and I think I don't know how we do that in baseball, but we found a way to protect the catchers at home plate a little bit. Maybe we can find a way to protect that guy that's turning a double play. That play was ugly.
All right, Steve. I'll see you on Thursday, okay? We'll chat soon.
I will see you then.
You bet. That's Steve Mariucci joining me here.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.